All right. We're going to do a quick segment on the basics of rigging. In my opinion, rigging rules. And so we're going to go over the rules of rigging. Now, just like DeVore prefaced last week when he taught you how electricity works, that you're not a certified electrician, this does not make you a certified rigger, that's for sure. In fact, me teaching you this is probably making you more dangerous, which I like, but just keep that in mind. I would rather us all have some sort of a foundational level of what's going on, that we kind of respect it at a distance, instead of like, it's this black magic voodoo that I don't understand and I just don't know. I think we can grasp enough of it that we understand what's happening, even if it means that we don't like go after it. So there's a lot to rigging, okay? There's a lot. I want to cover a couple things just to give us the basics of what's happening, all right? We're calling it rigging. We're just rigging stuff up. Before we had anything to rig from here at avad3, we did everything ground supported. So a speaker on a stand, a TV on a stand, a projector screen on its legs. If that speaker needs to go up in the air, we would use these giant things over here called super towers or crank lifts, and they have big feet, and you crank them up, and it's kind of like a forklift that stays there. But even cranking that up, that's just giving us a piece of steel in the air, and then we were rigging from that. So we had to start learning the basics of rigging even at a very early age as a production company. And I kind of want to go back to that early age and teach you that stuff. And we're not going to touch on maybe the bigger, more complicated stuff. One of my favorite things to do, I've been to some big shows. I've gotten concert tickets and stuff for my birthday. I went and saw Justin Timberlake. I got to go see Katy Perry, some like big tours, like 27 truck tours that they still set up in 4 hours. It's unbelievable. But I loved at those shows looking at the show, but we would get there early and none of the lights are on. It's kind of boring. And so I would just look up, and it's unbelievable all the points, because this needs to hang right here. It goes up. Well, there was no steel there, and so they would create what's called a bridle. And so you say, well, there was steel here and here. We'll hit those, and that will give us a point here, and down we go. Well, almost every tour, almost every point's a bridle. It's unbelievable. Well, we're just going to talk about trying to get a truss in the air, all right? What's it take to get a truss in the air? Let's put some lights on it. At the last Live Labs, I did a commercial break on how to place lights and stuff, and that was interesting. And if you kind of take that principle of just like we have a room and we need to get a truss up, that's what we're going to cover. Four things I want you to remember: truss, motors, shackles, and span sets. And that's truss and motors, shackles and span sets, okay? So we'll go through those in this order. Conveniently here at the avad3 shop, I'm standing in front of where we store our truss. This is truss. Typically in production, the most standard size you see is a 12 by 12, that's 12 inch by 12 inch, 10-foot stick of truss. We have some 8-footers here somewhere. I think they're on the truck right now. We have some 5-footers over there that I've been standing next to. But all of our truss is 12 inch by 12 inch. Some production companies like to use 12 inch by 18 inch, which is 12 one way and 18 the other. A very standard truss size on larger shows is 20 by 20, 20 inch by 20 inch. Those exist not just because they look neat and they're bigger. There's a reason by how big the truss is, and I want to start by going over that. Most truss is 12 by 12. 12 by 12 truss, you can bolt them together and together and together and together and together. And let's say we hang up this end and we hang up that end, and let's say we did like 100 feet of this thing, like it's like a bridge. Well, they typically don't build bridges with like a pole over here and a pole over here. It would be a very happy bridge. So you can't support 100 feet on both ends. You've got to have support halfway, and that's why overpasses have the little things every 40 feet or whatever. Well, in the same way, truss is the same thing. It's just like a big steel beam, except it's aluminum. But steel beam on bridges and aluminum truss is the same thing. So 12 by 12 truss is rated. They say what you're supposed to do, and what you do is every 40 feet you need a point. Okay? That's 12 by 12 truss. In certain instances in production, you can't get a point that often. Maybe you can only get a point every 50 feet. Well, you cannot use this truss now. In that instance, you use 20 by 20 truss. 20 by 20 truss can go every 50 feet. Very simplistic view of truss. There's a lot more to this. How many points, how much load, is it an even load, et cetera, et cetera. But in general, standard 12 by 12 truss, a point every 40 feet. 20 by 20 truss, which is the next most common standard, point every 50 feet. Hopefully that makes sense. Should be pretty straightforward. Another thing I'll say about truss is these zigzags matter. It's got to zig then zag, okay, if you know what I mean. So if we're going to bolt this stuff together and it's been zigging and zagging and zigging and zagging, make sure it zigs. So in this case, I don't know why I'm calling it zig and zag. I just have to come up with a name. So we'll get up, down, so zig, zag, zigzag, zigzag. When we bolt the next stick of truss together, it has to continue that pattern. It cannot be rolled 90 degrees where it was this way on one side and this way on another. See how this side are thicker ones and there are no zigzags? It has to be, if we're going to lay it all on the ground, we usually put it zigzags going this way, so it's as it is here. You just want to check as you're lining it all up, do I have it all set up straight, and then you bolt it together. You go 40 feet, 2 points, you're good, or 50 feet, 2 points, you're good. That's the basics of truss. Truss is pretty dumb. You can mess it up because you can bolt it wrong. I can also say this is also, there's 4 bolts on the end of the truss, 1, 2, 3, 4. Just like putting a tire on a car, you want to put them on there and then you want to check it by going crossways, just like putting a tire on a car or tuning a drum. This way, that way, this way, that way. When you're done, to make sure it's really tight, okay? So you're zigging and zagging, do it like a drum, do it like a tire. Yep, that's truss, okay. So if that's truss, next word is motors. Motors. So another word for motor is hoist. Some people call it chain hoist. It's a little European. Mostly we call it motors, okay? Just a chain motor. It's like a winch on the front of your friend's Jeep. That's all it is. It's literally just a motor that if you get electricity, it will roll one way, or if you reverse the phase of electricity, it'll roll the other way, and if you don't give electricity, it sits there, okay? Just like cranking up your boat on the trailer. Anything else, it's just a motor. Now, in our industry, in the 70s or whatever, when we needed a bunch of these, the only place we could find them, not we, I was not born, but the industry, the only place we could find them in the 70s was industrial warehouses use these to lift stuff like off of trucks, or if you're like in a chicken plant, you're lifting up like a pallet of chickens. I don't know what you do, but you have to hoist stuff up, okay? Now, I want to show you a picture of this so that you can see what I'm talking about. Okay. This is the most industry standard CM Lodestar chain hoist, okay? A couple things I want to call out. CM Lodestar is kind of the brand, just like a Shure SM58. It's darn near always going to be a CM Lodestar. There's some StageMaker, there's some other brands, but it's usually CM Lodestar. There are 3 common sizes of motors. The most common size, in my experience here in Arkansas, now if you're watching this in New York City, you would think this is small time, but here, the most common size is a half-ton motor. Everyone knows a ton is 2,000 pounds. This motor can lift 1,000 pounds. The baby, because in production everything's nice and easy and makes sense and jumps, we have a quarter ton, we have a 1-ton motor. Those are the 3 sizes of motors. It's just how much weight can it lift. So we're going to put 40 feet of truss out. We're going to drop 2 motors. We've got to ask ourselves, what are we putting on this truss? Is Katie going to walk on this truss with her like background singers? That's one thing. Is this truss going up there to put like one special light that needs to hit one point that she hits in the audience at one time? That's another. The truss has a weight rating. I don't know what it is. It's like 600 pounds a stick or something. I don't know. Well, it's actually so it can handle thousands of pounds, but that's per point. So the truss is going to be fine. What you have to ask yourself is how much weight do we need to be lifting? So, and once we lift, it's just going to sit there and we're cool, but you have to be able to handle the weight. So half-ton, most common size. So Lodestar's, CM's the brand, Columbus McKinnon. Lodestar's the series. Half-ton's the most common. Next thing I want you to notice on this photograph here is the direction in which it's hanging matters. This is interesting. Now, this motor, you can see the chain comes out. Okay, so if you turn the motor on, the chain you can pull more chain out of it. This is upside down of how this manufacturer designed this motor to work in the 60s when it was manufactured. When these things were manufactured for industrial's sake, you did not need to lower the motor down to your whatever you're lifting, a pallet of items. You wanted the motor to stay up there, and you wanted to just lift a chain down and grab it, okay? Now, who can think of why you, in a plant, you don't want to, or in an industrial plant, you don't want to drop the motor, and who can think of why we do want to drop the motor? Just some guesses here. No wrong answers. Safety? Yeah, you don't want this big, heavy thing, pendulum swinging around. That's a good point. Safety, yeah, better just have the hook. That's a good point. But we need it the other way, so why are we okay with non-safety?
Because we don't have a place to bolt it to, so we have to drop the motor down rather than...
The top's got to bolt to something. It's going to hook into something up there. Got a hook on one end, hook on the other. So they're both going to hook in. Yep, we're going to wrap it on both ends. There's still a hook, though. So if we got a hook on both ends, we don't care. And here's the line. The motor's either stuck up here, and this thing's flexible, or it's stuck down here, and this thing's flexible. Let's keep guessing on this.
In a factory, it's usually exposed steel. In hotel settings, you've got a ceiling. You've got a drop ceiling.
Yep.
So your drop ceiling and where your steel is could be multiple feet apart.
Yeah, there's like ceiling tiles. So we want the motor down here in that case, so we can kind of run the hook up and clip it in. That's a good point. Still not the answer of what, because the industry had to decide this back in the 70s. They're like, crap, we need to ask them to turn the logos around on the motors, please, because that's all they did. They were orange, and the logo was the other way. CM Lodestar found out they're using these in rock and roll, flipped the logo around, painted them black, started charging twice as much money for them.
Power?
Power. What do you mean by that?
Well, because like you're already running power on your truss. So.
That is the answer. You put this motor down here, right? And then you have your truss. You got to put power on the truss anyway. So you're running power through here. You can loop it up and plug it into the thing. And when the truss moves, we're good. Okay? Now, how is that different than an industrial environment? The power's up here. It's easy. Let's keep the power in the grid. Let's just drop a hook. Okay? It's important. You get the motor out. You want to ask yourself pretty quickly, am I about to hang this thing upside down? Furthermore, in an industrial setting, when they installed it, they had like a man lift, a scissor lift, a forklift. They went up and installed it once and for all, and it was done. So they don't mind that they had to lug a 100-pound thing up in the air. Now, when we do it, we're kind of in a hurry. We're running up there and for the ceiling tiles, clipping it in and getting to work. We don't want to lug the dadgum motor up there. Leave the motor on the ground. Let's take it easy. Let's just grab the chain. Clip the chain in. Now we're good. Let's let the motor do the work. Okay? So that's the size, that's the brand, the series, the sizes, why the hook goes that way. Okay? A couple other things on motors while we're sitting on motors. This is the most complicated part of rigging, by the way. It's the only thing that's like mechanical. Everything else is kind of just there. What does every device need? What do we just spend the whole morning talking about? What does every device need? And power and signal, okay? So this bad boy needs some juice, that's for sure, okay? It's lifting a car, half a car. So it needs some power. But it also needs signal of some type. Now, it's just a big dumb motor, okay? It's basically a light switch. Is it on or is it not? There's another thing, though, there's another parameter, not just is it on or is it not, that you need to ask yourself, and that is, are you going up or are you going down? Okay? So how they've designed, and that's just, are you running the motor out or are you running the motor in? So you may hear the term on a loadout, hey, we need to run the motors out. Which direction is that? We're just going to let them all the way out. We're going to let them all the way out, or we're going to reel them all the way back in, okay? Reeling them into the motor or running them out away from the motor, okay? So typically how they do the switches, it's not, it's a simple pickle usually if you're at the motor. We call it a pickle. More complicated motor controllers, it's on, you throw power on, but then all you're doing is you're saying up or down, running it in or running it out or running it in, okay? And then if there's no power, it just sits there. So when we run power down the truss, we plug it in, we run it up. We can leave the power and leave it on, or if we need those cables or something else, we can unhook the power of the motor. It doesn't like fall out of the sky. It sits there because without juice, it's just going to sit, okay? Power, hooks. These hooks swivel, so you don't have to really overthink it. Like you clip it and then it'll swivel. If you are using a motor from the 70s that somebody found at a garage sale that they bought from an industrial plant and then painted black and turned the logo upside down themselves, those don't swivel. But the ones that are designed for our industry that they charge twice as much for, they put swivel hooks on. I think that's it for motors. So truss and motors, shackles and span sets. Oh, chain length. That's what I wanted. When you buy the motor, you pick what size, you pick how much chain comes with it. Chain's a hard thing to add on because it's chain. So you want to decide that ahead of time. Industry standard, 60 feet. If you want a deal, 30 feet. And if you want to be a big boy, 100 feet. Those are kind of the three sizes, just like we got 3 standard sizes up here. By the way, there's a 2-ton motor. It's basically a 1-ton that they double reeve. So instead of having 1 chain, it has 2 chains. And it's still using the same motor to get there. It's just double the chains. But these are the 3 standard sizes. Those are the 3 standard lengths. All of our motors here are half-ton 30-footers. Why? The ceilings in this town are 22 feet. If we bought 60-footers every single show when we ran them out after the show, we would have to stand here and run them out. And these only go 16 feet a minute. So that's a lot of minutes. So we bought half-ton 30-footers. The power and signal, I guess I want to make sure this is clear too. The power and signal on motor cables are married together. We loom them. When you buy them, you just loom them because you're always running power and signal to that same motor every time, all day, every day. Now, why would we not loom the power and signal that runs to this speaker, for instance? Yep.
Sometimes we're running a 50-foot XLR to a speaker, and you don't want to loom that with a 10-foot
Right.
AC cable.
Exactly. If the outlet's right here, we'll just plug it in. But the snake's over there. So we don't really, you don't see that looming thing happening in audio, which is the best department. But you do see it happening in motors because we got to get power and signal to this. And when we get back, we're going to plug it into the wall. And then we're going to plug it straight into it. Well, not really the wall. It's a box. It's like a baby distro. And that's where you get signal to it as well. It's power and signal, they're best friends. That's it for motors. Let's talk about shackles, and then we'll talk about span sets. So what is a shackle? A shackle, just like your same friend who has that Jeep with a winch on it, he probably has one of these shackles hanging off the back bumper because it's like the cool thing to do. This is a shackle. In some industries, it's fine for your shackle to have a bolt on the end of it like this where it's kind of stuck, or this one has both, a pin where you have to like pull the pin out, like taking your trailer hitch off. We don't do that in this industry. We do where it has a screw, like you can unscrew it, okay? That's a shackle. The most common size of shackle that you're going to see in this industry is a 5/8 inch. It's just kind of become everyone's favorite. It's about right as far as what weight it needs. Well, it's way overweight for what you need to be able to do. But you can get a span set through it real well. It's not too clunky, not too expensive. These are like $12. That's a shackle. Couple things about a shackle. You always want the pin of the shackle. The pin of the shackle is the best friends with the motor. Okay. Now remember, the motor has 2 hooks. So it's best friends no matter which direction we're going. The pin is best friends with the motor. So if we're coming to the ceiling, great, it's like this. If we're going down to the truss, we're going to flip it around the other way. So I'm going to sketch everything we've done thus far to kind of bring it into a picture, and then we're going to add the 4th piece. So we have a stick of truss here. Okay, with half of another truss that kind of goes off into the abyss. And up here we had like the beams in the building, which look like an overhead, like an overpass. They're like big steel beams, okay? It's like a big, thick I-beam, okay? Truss was our first thing we talked about, truss and motors. So we put a motor right here, okay? And it has a little hook. And then we ran a chain up, and then it has another hook. Truss and motors, that's the steel that holds the building up. Where do shackles go and where do span sets go? We need to get up and over this beam somehow. You don't want to just kind of like clip onto the, you don't just want to like that'll work. You know, like you want to be over the top of that thing all day. You don't want to, like, if it's like a wood beam, be like, it'll be fine. Wood's not cool. It's going to burn. It's got to be steel. It's got to be metal. So we are going to use shackles and span sets now. Now that I've drawn that, I will teach you what a span set is and come back to the drawing. A span set looks like this. I've got multiple pictures up here. You can kind of see what it looks like wadded up. You kind of see what it looks like kind of in application. You can see it here in a choke. But for the most part, it's like this fabric-y gack flex stuff, okay? So what it is inside there is it's just like inside an XLR wire earlier. I was talking about braids and hair. It's a bunch of steel cable, like fishing line, but steel. And it's a bunch of them in there. And then they just put this fabric around it to protect it so that when you wrap the beam, it's not like rubbing on the steel. It's like soft. Most common, those are in 3 foot, 6 foot, 9 foot, 12 foot, 18 inch. Most common size is a 6 footer. 6 footer gets you wrapped pretty well. So up here, we're going to take a span set and we're going to wrap it up and over the top of the beam, okay? I wish I had one out. It's in the truck. Up and over the top of the beam. And that's doubled over, mind you. So like, for instance, if this was the span set, all right, Ben, for the win, dude. Way to go, Joe. This is a 6 foot span set, okay? You can hear it's just a bunch of really thin wires, which makes it really malleable in there, okay? Notice, it is in a constant loop. You can't undo it. So when we use it to get to points, we usually are going to use it doubled over like this, okay? So if I'm the steel beam in the building, we're going to throw it up and over the top of the steel beam, and then we're going to have these 2 points down here, okay? These tags tell you how long it is, how much weight it can do. This one can do like 5,200 pounds. And they're technically supposed to be rated to be able to do, I think, 6 or 7 times whatever they tell you. So we're going to wrap this up and over the top of the beam. And then when it comes together down here, we're going to put a shackle on it. You always want to make sure these tags are out of the way. But we're going to put a shackle on it to make this be one point. One metal-friendly point is what we call that. And then from that point, we can hang our motor clip. So we've got a span set, a shackle with the pin down. We clip into that. And then down here, we're going to do the exact same thing again in reverse with a twist, literally. So up here, we just threw it up and over the top of the beam, like this, okay? We just threw it up and over. Down here on the truss, we're going to do something a little different. Ryan, can you like set this across here for me, just kind of like awkwardly on the case and the stool? Good luck. Beautiful. Good luck. Yeah, good luck. Okay, great. So now, so when we were up on the beam, easy peasy. When we're on the truss, we're going to do something a little different. We have the thing. It's nice and open. It's not twisted. We're going to take it through itself like this, coming back around. Coming back around. I want to make sure that we're not twisted, which we are. Okay? Just like that. Okay? It's adding a kind of a second layer of safety or whatever, if you will. But also, that is gripping the truss, which keeps it from rolling. If we just made like a standard basket, it's just going to roll and do whatever it wants. It's also going to slide around. This chokes it and grips it in a certain spot so that it'll stay there. Furthermore, let's say we put a shackle here like this. we put all the weight of the truss, because we put all our lights on one cord of the truss, which is not a good idea because it's going to roll. If it did and you had to do that, you could kind of cheat this, right? You could cheat it this way, hang it like this, or I guess the opposite of what I just did. Cheat it this way, hang it like this, where it's hanging this way, and then all the weight is pulling it back, okay? Truss and motors, shackles, and span sets. Let me check my notes. Put it together, and what do you got? Bippity boppity boo. That's it. It's just shackles, span sets, the motor, and the truss. The basics of rigging. Typical show, we're going to do 40 feet, motor on each end. We're going to run the motor out, grab the chain, go up there, span set, shackle, clip it in, get it power, float it, put the lights on it, take it up, and we're done. The basics of rigging. That's it.